Well, I was brought up in a Christian home and had the gospel proclaimed to me and made a profession. But my problem was afterwards I did not have assurance of salvation. And so there was a period of time that I didn't know whether I really knew the Lord and so on. And that bothered me a great deal. And I suppose I was about 17 or 18 when that took place. So one Saturday evening, I got a hold of a pamphlet, and in that first paragraph, it said that some people want the good things of the Lord without willing to do any more. And that sized me up. When I saw that evening, I yielded to the Lord and never had any problems with assurance of salvation. Now, I made a profession of faith earlier, and I think maybe I knew the Lord but didn't have the other. I want to live my own life, go my own way, do my own thing. I didn't know much about missions those days at all. But the next step that I knew I needed to do was to take training. Yeah. And it was that next step that I did take, and was there where I learned about missions and so on. The thing that sort of started it, I went to a prayer meeting, kept going to a prayer meeting, heard about China, and met missionaries, and also from other parts of the world. And when I came to the Lord, I submitted to the Lord. I knew that the Lord had something for me ahead. So it was step by step that the Lord revealed, and I went, when I was 23 years of age, I was on my way to China. Yeah, right, after 4 years of Bible college. I'm a Canadian, and up in Canada, there's a place called Prairie Bible Institute. I don't know if you've heard about it. That's where I had my training. There were 5 of us young fellows that went out to China together. We were all single, and we had signed that we wouldn't do anything about matrimony for 2 years. Well, I didn't do really much until about 6 years. From 1936 to 1952. The first time I was gone for a little over 9 years. The second time was shorter because we were pushed out of China because of the communist takeover. That was around, I think, close to 5 years. I had to learn Chinese first, and for 2 years working on Chinese, and so I had a good command of Chinese. And then I went into the mountains of Tibet. I was sent into a pioneer area and started learning another language, Tibetan, and it was a very rugged area. It was 17 walking days into the area, over high mountain passes and so on. There were other senior missionaries that were there, but they had to go home on furlough. They hadn't had a furlough for some time. So I was left alone, and that was quite an experience. And one of the senior ones was a medical doctor. He did quite a bit of medical things. And then people kept on coming. He gave some instructions and things like that, and some medical things behind. Some of the things scared me stiff, but people came, and I had to do something, even pulling teeth. One day, an older fellow came along, and he said, "You have to pull this tooth." Oh, I said, "I've never done that before." I was scared stiff, because just before I went into the mountains, I had one extract, a wisdom tooth, and they had to break it and so on. It came out in pieces, and I had visions of this, and I said, "Oh, I can't do that." Well, he said, "Well, I won't go until you do it." So he kept sitting there, and the doctor, who was on furlough, he had his medical things there, and he had forceps for extracting teeth, and all wrapped up nicely. So this fellow wouldn't go, so I finally got a hold of that and unwrapped it. And I was scared stiff. And looked at the different forceps. I never had done anything like that before. And I thought, well, here's one that looks. So I set to, and fortunately the tooth came out so easily. And then I had a reputation. One day a fellow came along and he picked up a bomb and it exploded in his hands, and there were fingers just dangling from his hand and so on. It was just a mess in his body. And he came, and I was afraid he'd die on my hands. So I had to cut away the things that were dangling and so on, and I wrapped it up as well as I could with medications, and it healed up wonderfully. Oh, the Lord's been good. Continues to be good. When the Lord calls you, well, you better answer. The Lord is good, and He led me into many things that I never thought I would undertake. Yes, and looking back, His calling is also His enabling. You have to learn that too. The Lord gives us gifts, and they may be latent, and then there are situations that arise, and there's nobody else to do it, and suddenly those gifts come to light, and you're able to do some things that you hadn't intended to ever do. I had over 6 years of single life in China. Well, I came out of the mountains. I hadn't had a medical checkup for years, and so I was having my medical checkup, and the doctor said, well, you're not going right back into the mountains. There was he saw a shadow on my lung or that area, and he said, I have to see what this is all about. So here I was in the mission home and having to wait for this period of time, though I was active, learning more Chinese and getting involved that way. And it was at that time my wife came along. I was allowed to go back into the mountains, and just before I went back into the mountains, my wife, not just a friend at that time, we had a nice long walk together, and we decided that I didn't really propose, but I expressed my interest, and she was willing to correspond when I was in the mountains. And if the Lord was in it, then we would know. I was back in, and the doctor said I'd have to come out again, and we corresponded and realized that God was leading us together. She had gifts that I didn't have, and vice versa. And working together, we complemented each other in that sense. And she was a very friendly person, and she was a great mother, and a great wife. Yeah. And that was great. The Lord gave us 5 children. Right. But she's been gone for over 20 years now. So we're looking forward to seeing each other.